The concept of the sacred stone is one of the oldest and most enduring metaphors of God's presence in life. In the Bible, God is called the rock. In the book of Daniel, God's kingdom is called a stone cut without human hands. Both Jesus and his right-hand man in discipleship, Peter, are called the rock in Scripture, references Matthew and 1 Corinthians. And Jesus is also called the rejected cornerstone. So a lot of metaphors using stone or rock in Scripture. The land of Israel was and is today a land that is filled with stones. And we traveled there this summer, picked up a few stones and snuck them in our suitcases to bring home with us. Building piles of stones called cairns for a symbolic purpose is found all throughout Scripture. There are many passages that talk about these markers. The word cairn, C-A-I-R-N, comes from a Gaelic term that means heap of stones, just a stack of stones. Cairns served as monuments, as memorials. They served as burial sites. They were navigational aids, and there were other uses as well. Piles of stacked stones or round circles of stones. You could even call Stonehenge a cairn. You know that image of these standing stones in England. They were there in Israel and throughout cultures too. In today's first lesson that Liz read to you, Israel crosses the Jordan into this land that Israel felt God was calling them to inhabit, the land of Canaan or the Promised Land. And the Lord instructs Joshua to build a cairn at Gilgal from the 12 stones that they would take from the middle of the Jordan where God dries the land so Israel can cross over. And Jacob explained to the people that the stones were to be a sign that directed their attention to the saving works or deeds of God, and that God helped them cross through the wilderness as God led them through the waters of the Red Sea after their escape from Egypt. The memorial cairn at Gilgal pointed to what the Lord had accomplished on behalf of the people of Israel, as well as all peoples of the earth. We don't exactly know where the standing stones of Gilgal were. There are a few references even in Scripture, not just one, but a few. Gilgal is mentioned 39 times throughout the book of Joshua, especially. Gilgal, the two words, it's a combination of Gil and Gal, means, Gil means joyful or a remembrance. It also can be used as a circle of joy or circle of remembrance, and Gal meaning stones. So the term means Israel remembered this place that she crossed over into with the help and the guidance of God, leading them through the wilderness. So Joshua's circle of 12 standing stones is the very first shrine in Israel. Even today, there's an evangelical group from the States who are building a visitor center at a very ancient site that included standing stones. Whether this is the original site for Gilgal, no one knows. But it's kind of cool. It's by the Jordan in the wilderness. And so when a passerby would come by this site of these standing stones, they might pass by and think to themselves, what happened here? What do these stones mean? And the answer would be that all the peoples of the earth should know that God is God, and that we should revere God as the guide and the rock of our lives. Jesus would have remembered this story. He would have known it by heart. And this scripture from Joshua and God's saving acts as he follows the path into the wilderness after his baptism by John in the Jordan River. It was a time of testing, of self-reflection for Jesus, and all great leaders took a time of self-reflection before they began their call. Jesus does the same. 40 days and 40 nights, mirroring Israel's 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, forming herself as the people of God after she leaves the oppressive situation in Egypt under Moses. Also, Moses goes to Mount Sinai, climbs Mount Sinai, and undergoes a time of testing for 40 days and 40 nights, and then God delivers Torah to Moses, and Moses delivers Torah to the people. The instruction of how to live and be as God's people. Moses neither ate bread nor drank water, as the passage in Exodus 34 says. So Jesus, like Moses, like Israel, goes out among the stones in the wilderness by the Jordan for an extended time. And if you've spent any time in the wilderness at all, you know that the wilderness is a time of reflection, but it's also a time of temptation. I don't like camping that much, and so if I were out in the wilderness, I would think of the nice 4-star hotels and wish I were there. My stepdad, a big hunter, fisher, loved to camp. You would be laughing at me now. Life in the wilderness is a time of struggle. It's a time of challenge. We literally have to go the extra mile just to survive for any extended time in the wilderness. In the wilderness, Jesus faces 3 temptations, as the story Liz read to us says. And central to each of these temptations or challenges that Jesus faces is a single question. And the single question is this: to what extent will Jesus trust that God is God? And for Jesus to be who Jesus is himself. And so we meet the great tempter. And some translations will say it's Satan. And some translations will say it's the devil. And some modern translations will say it's the evil one. So whether it's the devil or the Satan or a force of evil or the dark side or even our shadow self, Jesus faces temptation to turn stones into bread, or to take on political power, or to perform spectacular feats or miracles. Those are the temptations Jesus is faced with. And these are all good, okay? They are worthy goals that many of us seek in life. I mean, after all, isn't it a good thing to be able to feed the world or to feed hungry people? Isn't it a worthy vocation to do good for other people through our political actions in a life in the political arena? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could call up a miracle or witness a miracle that's so great that we could save a person dying from an illness so that person could be made well and be made whole? Yet Jesus, in all these temptations, says to the evil one, no. No. No, I will be who I am. I will be who I am in light of who God has called me to be. I think there's a teaching statement here. The story of Jesus' temptation in the wilderness reminds us not to be surprised at our own struggles in life. Our own struggles to follow our will to have power, or the desire for things and more things, or to seek fame or prestige. As Jesus triumphed over the seductions of the world and the limitations of being human, we are called to do the same. Jesus' response to every test was to refuse to try and be like God or to be God. And Jesus says, we are to be the same. So back to the cairn. Rock cairns have been used by many cultures. They've been found in Neolithic cultures dating back 8,000 years BC. They are a way of marking the right way on a not so well-defined trail. And that's kind of what I want us to think about our lives in the Lenten journey. Because we know that our experience of life is not so well-defined. I think we make our way along the path as we go throughout life. And some of us have pretty much no idea where we're going or who we're called to be. And people wander for years and years, not understanding themselves and who God has called them to be. And so with the cairn, and you'll see, there's some balance going on here. I don't know how the worship team balanced this, but it is. And I imagine it's going to stay just like this for the next 6 weeks. The spiritual significance of a cairn for many religious faiths is the act of balancing, which carries with it a practice of patience and the physical effort of creating balance. And so during our journey through Lent, we have to be intentional about our self-examination and reflection and balancing our lives, because it's so easy to become out of focus and out of balance. Each stone symbolizes an intention of thankfulness. Thankfulness that God has brought us to the point of where we are, and that God is leading us to where God is guiding us to go. Today, Courtney spoke about prayer and gratitude in a beautiful way. It's our first stone. It's our foundation stone. And we will build upon it as we journey through Lent. Lent requires me as a follower of Jesus to stop for a while to reflect on what is going on inside of me. Where am I on the journey of faith? And I am called to remember this great community of people called the church that have made this journey for 2,000 years and have brought life and hope and light in so many ways to the people throughout the world. So church, as we journey through these 40 days in Lent, let us keep prayer and gratitude at the center of our lives. Let us hold Jesus as our model for facing the challenges and temptations that seek to put distance between ourselves and between God. let us struggle with the choices that we make. Let us be attentive to our fears. But above all, may we know that God is our companion daily in life, and that we place ourselves in God's care because we are not God.